Hello, everyone. I am Shawnta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me for my previous three book discussions for this series. And today is our fourth and final book discussion for my book, The Resilience of a Woman: Stories of Faith, Love, and Perseverance. Thank you so much for joining me. And we've discussed all of the chapters. Today is the final chapter, which is chapter 7. And chapter 7 is on life visioning and living our life's purpose. And the chapter is entitled, should I say, Life Visioning and Striving for Success. And so that's our topic. And I'm going to try something a little bit different. And so I encourage you all to have a pen and paper with you for this discussion. And so we'll get started. We are streaming live. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So please do enter your questions and comments in the chat box. My website, shawntajackson.com. Visit my website to subscribe to my mailing list. And also look on my events page, and you can catch up with me and all of my happenings. This week in the DMV on Wednesday, I will be at Solid Rock Church, speaking for a Women's Day event. And then you can catch me on Sunday, April 3rd, the first Sunday in April. I'm hosting a free workshop, and the tickets are available at my website, shawntajackson.com, or on Eventbrite. And the topic is the benefits of positive affirmations and gratitude. So we talked about that in one of our previous discussions, and I've actually turned it into a workshop. So please do join me and share the information. And so we'll get started. Again, if you're just joining, we are discussing chapter 7, Life Visioning and Striving for Success. Please do check in, and I welcome your questions and comments. In my first book, The Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences, a 21-day guided journal, I discussed life visioning, striving for success, my bucket list. And in my 17th journal entry, I wrote that life is about growth and change. And in my opinion, the best life lived is when you are intentional about growing and changing by creating a vision for your life. Yes, it's important to live in the moment, but creating a vision can help you to map out your path to achieving your life's goals. It can assist you in determining what needs to be done and who you must become to make your vision a reality. Your vision for life may change over time, and when it does, you can reimagine your path and how you will get there. Your vision should embody your values and standards, whether it is family, love, health, wealth, spirituality, career, freedom, independence, or all of the above. Your vision should serve as your source for inspiration. When times get tough, your vision should be a reminder of why you chose this path and what you are working toward. Your vision is also a way of manifesting what is to come. And so that's what I wrote about life visioning in my first book, The Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences. And then I shared my personal journal entry, and then I provided a prompt for you, the reader, and space for you to write. And so continuing with this theme, as I mentioned in my book, The Resilience of a Woman, in previous discussion, I've mentioned this, I talked about a lot in my first book, and I feel like before I move on to talk about other topics in additional books, I felt that it's important for me to update my readers on where I'm at now in life. Some things have changed, some things have remained the same, and so I'm sharing my insight in this book. And so chapter 7. I discuss, let me get there. So chapter 7, we are at page 58. And as I mentioned in my journal entries, I shared my thoughts on the following themes: life, living life in the present moment, life visioning, striving for success, and life's bucket list. And in this last chapter, I will share my current thoughts and progress in these different areas. And so my bucket list, I actually update you all in this book. But first, however, I would like to highlight the fact that even though our lives can be broken down into different areas, it is important for us to acknowledge and understand that each area of our life is not independent of the other. For example, your physical health may impact your mental health, which in turn affects personal relationships and your job performance, which you rely on for financial stability. In my professional field of public health, we often refer to these areas as dimensions of wellness. And so, and uh, and with that said, my goal for myself and my wish for you is that you reach and sustain your full self actualization, which is the realization and fulfillment of our talents and potential. And so, how do we reach self actualization? What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause and I'm going to share something with you. And so I want to just briefly, those eight dimensions of wellness that I discussed, I want to share that with you. And then I also want to share with you, it's called Maslow hierarchy of needs. It's a psychologist, Abraham Maslow. Um, he passed away in about 1970, but his work is still relevant to this day. And basically, what he says is that in order for a person to achieve self actualization, there's like certain basic needs in their life that that they need to meet first. And so if I'm someone, if I'm a life coach, if I'm a public health professional, if I'm a counselor, if I'm anyone trying to help people to achieve financial success, financial literacy, or to take or to eat better or to exercise, I have to first understand that there are certain other things in their life that may be happening, that may be occurring. And even though people know that they want to eat better, for example, or that they should be saving money, they're in survival mode. Right. And so I have to understand that and understand the progress of just kind of like human psychology of our basic needs being met. So, with that said, at this time, I'm going to Okay, so thank you. So someone just said that they couldn't hear, and so I apologize for that. Um, do me a favor. Can you all hear me now? Let's see. Can you all hear me now? If so, go ahead and comment in the chat box. Okay, so there's no audio on the Facebook side. Let me see. Give me one moment. Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, I'm going to try it again. This time I won't take myself off of screen. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for staying in with me. I appreciate that. And so I'm going to add myself back on. I'm going to show the screen again and just confirm with me that you can see and hear me at the same time. Can you all see and hear me? Or see the screen, the eight dimensions, and just let me know if you can hear. Okay. Yeah, someone just check in to let me know. And so on the screen, I'm showing the 8 dimensions of wellness. Okay, yes, thank you, Gina, for checking in. So we have Gina checking in. We have Asia. They joined me last week. We have In Your Ear Radio. Um, we have my mom checking in. In Your Ear Radio is checking in from Las Vegas. And my mom says that this has been a great experience. So wishing you the best as always. Thank you very much. Okay, so back to what I was saying is that um, I was explaining the 8 dimensions of wellness and basically saying that we have these different areas in our lives. And usually when one thing is off balance or off check, it affects the other. And these areas are not independent of each other. And so, as I mentioned, there's emotional. So your emotional, your mental. So think about your level of happiness, any anxiety, any depression, your mental health. So that's emotional wellness. Your physical wellness, occupational, your job. Are you satisfied, or are you pursuing something else, or is this something that you want to pursue that you're putting off that maybe you should start pursuing? Intellectual wellness. And this could be something as simple as reading a book, going out to museums and exploring or learning, or your personal growth, your personal development. Are you satisfied with that? And are your needs being met in that area? Financial wellness, social, intimate relationships, family relationships, just going out and socializing with coworkers or meeting new people. Your environment, the place where you have your built in your physical environment, but just also just your surroundings around you, right? And then there's your spiritual wellness. Are you feeding that? I know a lot of times we talk lately, it's been a trend to talk a lot about our mental wellness. But I would like to emphasize that spiritual wellness is just as important, and spiritual doesn't always have to mean religious. Spiritual could be prayer, but it also could be meditation. It could be positive affirmations. Spiritual means that you're feeding yourself, you're feeding your spirit. And in my opinion, I think that the spiritual is the foundation for the emotional and for all the other areas. But as I mentioned earlier, these are not independent upon each other. One area affects the other. And so not everything is going to be on, actually, I wouldn't even use the word balance, because I don't think there's a such thing as balance. But sometimes there's other areas in our lives that we need to pay more attention to than the others. And so I just wanted to explain, because I mentioned this in the book. So I just wanted to explain to you all what I mean by the 8 dimensions of wellness. And some people say there's 6 or 7 or 12, but for the purpose of this discussion and what I like to refer to, I refer to 8. And so I would just encourage everyone to take the time to kind of like do a self-assessment on yourself. And this can just be a simple checklist. Emotionally, if I had to rate my emotional wellness today from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, how would I rate that? And then take it a step further. Why? And maybe what are some, why, and maybe what are some things that are bothering you, or some things that are impeding on your emotional wellness, and maybe 1 or 2 things that you can do, or the next best step to improve your emotional wellness, whether that be journaling, talking to someone, removing some type of negativity or toxic information. It could be something as simple as, you know what, for now on, I'm noticing that at night when I listen to the news or when I go on social media, I'm bothered. So for now on, starting at this time, I'm going to detox from social media or from watching the news from this time. It could be something as simple as that. Everyone is not the same. But anyway, in all of these different areas, I would just encourage everyone to kind of do a self check-in, that self-assessment. And then we're in a new year. We're finishing up the first quarter. And so I would encourage you, just, by the end of April, this is how I would like to be, or this is what I would like to be working on, or this is the next step. It doesn't have to be the goal, but this is the next step that I'm going to take in order to improve my financial wellness, in order to improve my social wellness, my intellectual wellness, all these different areas. And but I do also understand, as I mentioned earlier, there is also a Maslow hierarchy of needs, and starting from the bottom up, before we can reach self-actualization, which is our full potential, that self-fulfillment, that personal growth, and our peak experience in life, there's certain basic needs that have to be met. And so I think that, again, especially if you are a leader, if you are a head of household, or if you are even just helping yourself, but especially if you're helping others, I think that it's important to understand that, people have basic needs. They have their basic physiological needs that need to be met first: air, food, shelter, clothing, warmth, sex, sleep. There's basic things that humans need. And if you are trying to help someone to improve or to take their life to the next level, I think that it's important, especially if you are, if anyone out there is a life coach. I think it's especially important to kind of consider where people are at. And so you can understand how you can best assist them. And again, this is for yourself too, for your own self check. So we have our physiological needs, and then our safety needs. And then there's loving and belongingness, esteem needs, so self worth, accomplishment, and respect. And so ideally, there's no one size fits all, but just ideally, what this pyramid is saying, or these hierarchy of needs are saying, again, before we can reach that self-actualization, those other needs need to be met. And so, again, that's why I'm providing this information about the 8 dimensions of wellness. So that way you all at least have, in my opinion, there's a tool for you to start improving those different areas of your life, so that we can get to, again, that life visioning, right? That life visioning and striving for success. If you have any questions or comments in the chat box, please do check in. And so I do mention that I do have the Maslow hierarchy of needs in my book, but for those of you who do not have it, I just wanted to share that with you. And so I also share in my book the things that remain on my bucket list, and the things that I've accomplished. And so let's see. The things that I have checked off of my bucket list, that's what I'll share with you. So host my own TV show. And so I was able to achieve that. Write a book. I am on my second. And let's see, some things that remain on my bucket list. Go dance for one night at a popular nightclub in a popular city. And why I haven't, I even share in here why I did not achieve that. And for this one, it was COVID-19. So I'm going to do that as soon as possible. Stand-up comedy for one night. So not yet. And for this one, I cannot use COVID-19 as an excuse. I just have to build up the nerve and start writing down my jokes that I often practice in the mirror. I am actually excited about it, and will identify an amateur comedy spot for my debut, to make my debut. I have singing lessons. I want to preach a sermon just one time. I still want to fall in love on a boat in the Mediterranean. And about this, I am starting to waver and will accept falling in love on a boat in the Caribbean. Nonetheless, I do believe that you can fall in love with the same person over and over again, and that is my plan. Any man who loves me will know that I am spoiled, and hopefully will have no problem taking me to wherever I want to go, especially if it is going to cause me to fall more deeply in love with him. 3 other things that remain on my bucket list are to visit Yellowstone Park and a summer road trip across the United States in an RV. I'm going to make that happen this summer. Tour museums and historic sites of Ethiopia. And this dream was interrupted when the Ethiopian Prime Minister launched a civil war in the north of the country in November 2020. And I pray for the souls of the victims of this war and for those who continue to suffer. And my intent is to visit other countries in Africa. In fact, I'm planning a trip now with some girlfriends. We are going to Ghana. in September of this year. And also to travel the world collecting handmade and custom jewelry. So I'll start doing that this year as well. And so this is the book. That was chapter 7 that I shared. The Resilience of a Woman, Stories of Faith, Love, and Resilience. And please do visit my website again. Chapter 7 is Life Visioning and Striving for Success. And I'm going to check in the chat box, and then I do have a guest backstage that I'm going to bring on. We have Baron Warren checking in from Detroit. We have Elois Kelly checking in from Silver Spring, Maryland. Let's see, we have Jacqueline Rothstein checking in. Thanks for joining. And Elois Kelly says that balance is important, but as I mentioned, like, what is balance? And I think that can be subjective. So I think, just whatever works best for you, because what works best for someone may not work best for someone else. So I kind of question that word balance. I definitely, I kind of question it. Like, is there really a such thing to kind of, balance it all? Because sometimes one thing may need more attention than the other in different areas in our lives. And Jacqueline seems to agree as well. And in your radio says, my bucket list is to pay off my home in 5 years and have zero debt, so I do not have to work if I don't want to. Yes, definitely. That's that financial wellness. And I wish you luck and success on that journey. And in your ear is apparently a Libra, and she says that balance is necessary in her life because she has that scale, so you can tip the Libra off the scale. And I think Danielle is agreeing with me too about my comment regarding balance. Yes. And so at this time, I'm going to bring on Lorinda. Please do all ask me any questions. It could be about life visioning, striving for success, or just anything in general. But at this time, I will bring on my guest, Lorinda Mckelvey from Chicago.
Hi, friend.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. And so tell me about the book. Tell me what you think, specifically chapter 7. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, so chapter 7, as you see, I highlighted chapter 7 and chapter 3, I think are my favorite. And I think because it all ties back into us and our decision making. So for me, when I was reading chapter 7, and I just want to commend you because you've been very transparent in all your books, but even especially in this one, as you write out your bucket list and just how you self reflect. So for me, I felt like chapter 7 and chapter 3 went hand in hand because you really focus on your needs, how you assess information. And then the chapter 3 is about love and relationships. So how you approach that and how you live in the now, but you're thinking about the future when you're making your decisions. So for me, that just made sense the way it all tied back in. So for me, I did want to ask questions around that, but I wanted to feel like a discussion for you.
Yeah, go ahead, ask your question. And thanks for your kind words and for your feedback. So again, everyone, Lorinda says that chapter 3. So chapter 3 is love and relationships. So love and relationships, and then chapter 7, life visioning and striving for success, are her 2 favorite chapters, or the chapters that resonate with her the most. And so, what question did you have?
So tying chapter 7 back to chapter 3, when you talk about being open to love and when you think through your needs, how do you, like, what, because I use your book as a tool, and I think I've told you this. So as I approach this and use this book as a tool, how do you approach when you're making your decision making around being open to love? And I know that's a loaded question, but basically, when you're assessing, okay, I have my wants and I have my needs, but how do I factor that in when I'm thinking about love and who I'm allowing myself to give time to and who I'm even factoring in as a potential partner? Yes, it's a loaded question.
Oh, wow, y'all. Okay, so I would say definitely a lot of trial and error. And I think so. One of the things that I pray for and I ask for is wisdom and discernment, right? And so it's just me basically kind of like applying my lessons and the whole self reflection. I think that, so for one, I think that I'm a very emotional person. And so this may have something to do with being a Pisces, right? We kind of, the fish, we kind of go the other way. And so I have to factor that in. But then also, my mind, I'm very analytical and critical, just because of the type of work that I do. But then and so all of the tools that I've shared. So let's go back to the 8 dimensions of wellness, right? So I've done like, I know what my vision is for myself. And my thing is when making a decision of who to date or who not to date, and I have to just be realistic. Sometimes I've just gone off of feelings and ended up being hurt or being disappointed just because I'm going off of feelings and I'm not being realistic about where this person is at in life or what this person is willing to do. And then and I've even tried to, in some cases, kind of open up to kind of try to assess. I try not to judge because you don't know, you don't know a person until you spend time with them, and sometimes you don't know until you ask, and you don't. And I mentioned previously, people love differently, people give differently, people have different emotions. So just because I feel or I may express myself a certain way or this is my love language doesn't necessarily mean that it's that other person. So I, one, just try to get to know just myself and just set my standards and my values for what it is that I want. And then I have to decide, what areas am I able to compromise, or what areas am I able to meet someone where they're at, and then just grow with them, and we can grow in those other areas together. And so everyone, when I speak of those other areas, I'm thinking in my head the 8 dimensions of wellness. um, but I've tried to kind of assess and start the conversation of, okay, let me see what this person is at emotionally or mentally, right? And okay, so let me intellectually, let me I'm not technically kind of going like a wheel in my head, but like just through different conversations, I'm coming up with different topics that all relate back to those 8 dimensions of wellness because I know what my vision is for myself, right? So I'm just trying to see. So there is the emotional, we have the connection, we have the chemistry, right? But and I don't believe in the term like equally yoked, but are we compatible? And again, is this someone that I feel that can, of all the things and all of the visions that I have for myself, like my bucket list, is this someone that can do these things with me? Or it's no fun if I have to do it by myself or find someone else to do it with and I can't do it with that person. So those are the things that I'm kind of considering. And then of course financially, stability, kind of like where they're at. And not to necessarily judge them, but it's just transparency. Like, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where you're at. Is this something that realistically that we can do together, or do you have areas of improvement because I have areas of improvement, and what are you working on? But I think this is all about intention because you sometimes you won't even get to this level of conversation with people if they just kind of want to hang out, hook up, right? So I think that's something that you should probably identify and find out like right away. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. And I appreciate the part around being transparent. And you said, like, you're able to make decisions based off of your needs and what makes sense. And I journaled in for the love and relationships. What kept popping out to me was being mindful of the role emotions play, as well as how important logic is in decision making. So, again, I think this book is really helpful as being utilized as a tool to think through how am I approaching decisions? Where are my emotions coming up at? And do they make sense logically? And going back to my needs. So yes, I like how you tie
Right.
that in with chapter 7 and going through the whole, the needs assessment and the pyramid.
Yeah, and then also, like, and your emotions, or is it coming from a place of fear,
Right.
because in the past this has happened, or you witnessed something in your family with your mom, your sisters, your aunts, your brothers, and you don't want that to occur. So are you making decisions based off of fear or inexperience? Um, those are some things to consider as well,
Yeah.
right?
And it's
Um,
yeah.
no, go ahead.
And I was gonna say, and it's not easy. Like even throwing those questions out there, like how to keep it real with yourself and be transparent with yourself. It takes work to show up. It takes work to check our own selves and our own biases, our own fears, and our own hurts. So, again, just using this to be mindful. And do you feel like you use this? Like, do you still go back to your chapters and say,
Yes.
okay, okay,
And you know what? And there's consistency.
yeah,
So sometimes I write and I forget, like, what did I write? But if I go back and go back and go back, even with these two,
yeah,
like there was some level of consistency. Of course, there's growth and there's change in this one, but there is still some level of, okay, this is who I really am to my core. And I just need to own this is who I am. This is me,
yeah,
right?
and that's okay, right?
Right. This is me. And
Right.
and life is always about growth and progress and change. And as long as you're changing for the better, that's
Yeah.
okay. And I think as it relates to so chapter 3, love and relationships, just understanding that people do grow and people do change, right? So your needs and your desires may change just as well as that other partner. So I think it's just about not it's just intention and then commitment, and even and as I mentioned, because I understand that not all of my readers and not all of my viewers are single. Some people are in relationships, but I think this still applies to, even if you are in a committed relationship, the things that we talk about, I think it still applies. I'm going to check in the chat box. We have Shawnta checking in from Woodbridge, Virginia. Hello there. And my mother says hi to you, Lorinda. And
Hi.
definitely, yes, yes, get the book. So, how you can purchase my book, you can simply visit my website, shantajackson.com, or you can go online wherever books are sold. But if you visit my website and purchase there, you'll definitely have an autographed copy. And if you are in the DMV area, go on my events page, and I do have some upcoming events within the next week. And Reverend Jenkins says to listen to your inner voice. I definitely agree. And Shalonda says that compatibility is very important. And we have Dr. Toy Dennis checking in, and she's a previous guest on Live with Shawnta Jackson, and she says that this is good. Thank you for joining us today. And In Your Ear Radio agrees with Reverend Jenkins. My vow to myself: go with my first mind and stop dismissing my initial thoughts, because guess what? That's your intuition, and your
Yeah.
intuition. That's like I said. It doesn't necessarily have to. You don't have to necessarily be religious, but that's kind of like, that's a spiritual blessing. That's a spiritual tool. That's a spiritual asset. And in my opinion, those initial thoughts, that intuition, that's God.
Yeah.
And how many times in life, I don't care if it's something as simple as, I knew I shouldn't have made this right turn, or I knew I should have not listened to that person, or I knew I should have not have let this person in my house, or I knew I shouldn't have accepted that business deal or accepted this. But it's always, I knew. And what did we do? We went against our first thought. We know we have all the answers inside of us. It's just trusting ourselves enough to know that
Trust.
we're making the right decisions for ourselves. Um, And Reverend Jenkins says we need to take our own advice that we give to
Yes.
others. Yes, we definitely do. And I check myself all the time as well. And actually, what I do is I wear two hats. So there's me, there's Shawnta Jackson, and you know how some people say they have like a little devil on their shoulder. Well, I have this angel, and I have this coach and this advisor. And so sometimes I have to step out of myself and put on the other Shawnta Jackson hat and coach and advise myself. And that's when I say I'm more motivating, self-motivating, that self-therapy, those positive affirmations. But then also I bring in that logic, and just kind of not checking myself, but just acknowledging and assessing, like, this is what I'm feeling, and this is why I'm feeling like this. And it's actually normal. It's normal to have fear. It's normal to doubt yourself. um But if you have good practices, and so that's what I'll be talking
Yeah.
about on next Sunday with the workshop on the benefits of positive affirmations and gratitude, is that, do I journal every day? No. Do I say my positive affirmations every day? No, but I say them the majority of the week, you know. So sometimes, like, I'll go through times where it's 2 days in a row where I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know why I'm doing this. This doesn't make any sense. I should just quit. It's just easier to do this. Then I take a deep breath and I kind of like, you know what, I just need to take a break. Like, I'm overwhelmed. Then I have to realize, why am I thinking like this? Because you're doing this and you're doing this and this and this and this, and you're overwhelmed. You'll be fine. This is natural. Just don't make any decisions. Just, you'll be fine. You know, and then I naturally go back into my positive affirmations, listen to motivational music, speeches, or, you know, different things like that. So I got to check myself often. But because I feed myself and I feed my spirit, um, I'm never, even though sometimes I get depleted and I get overwhelmed or have anxiety about anything. It could be about um, parenting or just everything that's going on in my life. It could be about finances and relationships and work. It could be, you know, a lot of different things, pressure. But I'm never like, so let's speak of that cup, right? Keeping your cup full. My cup is never empty. But when it gets low, I think I have like a threshold where I'm bothered. And then that's when I just start making decisions and I start cutting things out. I actually, this weekend, I was supposed to participate in this girls' night out, and I really wanted to, but I couldn't because it was like a overcommitment, and I had to prioritize. And I may not get invited again. I'm not sure. I don't know. I hope so. But I had to do what was best for me
Yeah.
because I have this and I have this and this. Because what happened was I was just giving, giving, doing, doing, doing. And I had to step back and make some decisions for myself and what was best for me. And I don't regret anything, any decisions that I made for as far as this week. I had to prepare for today. You know, I had to prepare for yesterday. I had a speaking engagement. So
And that's fair.
because guess what, because I'm being true and I'm staying consistent with my vision for myself, and there's certain things that I have to do. So there's certain sacrifices and temporary sacrifices that I'm going to have to make in order to achieve what it is that I'm setting out to do.
And that's
So
fair.
mhm. All right, everyone. Well, I appreciate you checking in. I appreciate you watching. I am Shawnta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. Please do visit my website, ShawntaJackson.com. If you haven't purchased purchased a copy of my first book, The Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences, please do. And then my new book is The Resilience of a Woman, Stories of Faith, Love, and Perseverance. Again, follow me on social media, subscribe to my YouTube channel, visit my website, go on my events tab. And then also, if you have any upcoming events or happenings, if you have a podcast and you'd like to interview me, I welcome invites. If you have a speaking engagement or a private event that you're hosting, please do consider me. Again, ShawntaJackson.com. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this book discussion series.